While in my Series 8 ranking, I said that this was one of the weaker Series 8 episodes, but it was still hilarious. You probably noticed if you'd seen that video that I had absolutely nothing to say about the plot. All I really said is that the characters were good and it was funny. And honestly, I was probably way too nice to this episode because having to go back to it for a review, I put it off for the longest time. I didn't even do that with the Series 12. I wrote the scripts from Tesla to Into the Dalek within 2 weeks and many late nights. To clarify, it was in lockdown, I had fuck all better to do. I put off going back to this episode for 24 days, and I wasn't even burned out, I just couldn't be fucked with this episode. Maybe because it's surrounded by episodes that absolutely tower over it quality-wise. Or maybe it's just shit. So, is this episode as bad as my suppressed part of my memory made it out to be? Or is it truly just the generic schlock that the one-hit wonder Gaddis usually churns out? Let's find out. This episode does start off quite well, with a funny scene with Clara where she says she wants to meet Robin Hood, and Clara's theme starts swelling around the scene as the Doctor and her talk about it, only to have that soppy music crushed by the harsh reality of 12's grumpiness. However, the intro then falls into the realms of predictability as the TARDIS lands and the Doctor says there's no Robin Hood, and oh, what a surprise! Robin Hood shows up! Come on, man. Then we get quite possibly one of the stupidest scenes in Series 8, but I still kinda like it. The Doctor fighting Robin Hood with a spoon. Logically, this makes no fucking sense. There is not a chance in hell that a flimsy little spoon wouldn't break against a fucking sword. But this scene is pretty funny, not gonna lie. But that stupid scene, yet funny, is immediately ruined by some classic BBC censoring, where we see Bob from the Johnny English films stab this old man for spitting on him and we see absolutely no blood. Oh, for God's sake! I know that Doctor Who's on at like 7 o'clock, but showing no blood on a sword after someone has just been fucking stabbed is not only stupid, it's just illogical. Remember when the show was violent as fuck? Like, I know times have changed since the 70s and there's no way you could get away with stuff like this now, but this is just dumb as fuck. Then we get introduced to Robin Hood and his merry men, and this scene is pretty good. The Doctor being a dick was amusing and Capaldi is as funny as usual. Then we do get some backstory for Robin Hood and some context to the situation. It's pretty good, as it makes Robin more likeable and interesting. But the merry men themselves don't get any development or character besides laughing and agreeing with Robin, which is a shame, especially considering how good this episode is at making Robin Hood likeable. Then we get the arrow shooting competition itself and it's fine, I guess. Then when the Doctor shows up, we get quite possibly the worst element of this episode. These fucking lame robots. While I kinda like the design of them, they do fuck all in the grand scheme of things and are ultimately pointless. After some cringy overacting peasants, we get to the scene that I said was one of the funniest scenes in the episode. But once again, like with the opening, I feel like it's just a stupid scene, really. Maybe it's because I watched the episode very recently at the time of writing this from the Series 8 ranking so I can remember the jokes. But this scene just wasn't funny. It only really got comedic once Clara started talking about their plans and the facial expressions of all the actors are funny. But not laugh out loud gold. However, the scenes here get a lot funnier when they're trying to trick the guard, as the bitching is a lot more cleverly written and less like a dick measuring competition. And the line afterwards is actually funny.
Well, there is a bright side. Watch it. Clara didn't see that.
The scene with Bob and Clara was also actually pretty well done. Instead of just giving us a boring exposition dump as to why the robots are here, we have some clever manipulation from Clara, getting the information gradually, and I'm glad the script actually deviates from the cliche, first X location, then the world! And then we get a bunch of smaller places being listed and then he streams the world, as that was actually a pretty good joke.
King, an all but name for Nottingham after this Derby and after Lincoln.
Works up.
The world!
And whether intentional or not, this is a good showcase of Clara slowly becoming like the Doctor, leading to her eventual death. However, I feel like Clara's line would have been a lot better if she didn't just outright say, "Yeah, I was lying, LaMail," as that just dampens the effect of it. In the ship, we find out it was heading to the series Cocktease place, and how it is integrated into the world at the time. And we even get a reference to Patrick Troughton, who played Robin Hood way back in the 50s, I think? However, I must say, the way Moffat does these cock teasers are nowhere near as good as Russell did them with his series. In Series 1, we had Bad Wolf shown to us a couple times throughout the series and only fully talked about in the last 3 episodes. In Series 2, we had Torchwood, which was set up in the Christmas invasion and mentioned subtly a couple times throughout the series until we meet Torchwood in the finale and launch the excellent spin-off. In Series 3, we had Harold Saxon, who was only mentioned a couple times, and we do see the occasional poster here and there until we find out it was the Master all along. And the Series 4 one, with the stars fading out and the bees disappearing, was the most quiet of these 4. But they show up in an excellent way in the finale. While the theme of the repeated meme got old after a while, it was far more subtle in the RTD era than in the Moffat era, where it's brought up almost every single episode to some extent. Also, in the scene, I wish Robin Hood seemed more distressed and distraught about finding out he's apparently not real. Don't get me wrong, the acting here isn't awful, it just could have been so much better. Then the sheriff blows up the door for some reason, and Robin escapes with Clara and the doctor gets arrested. Again. Except, for some reason, they put him in the room where all of the important shit is. Why the fuck would you do that, considering he escaped so easily before? This is such a convenient way to have the Doctor escape and beat the bad guy. This whole plate deflecting thing is also really, really stupid, but at least they use a lot of practical effects making the scene look really good. But that doesn't save it from how truly stupid it is. After Robin Hood comes back and fights Bob, we get a really stupid mistake shown to us in the episode. Bob talks about being half human, half engine, but the scene which was fucking explaining this was fucking deleted, so this comes out of nowhere. How fucking incompetent do you have to be to keep in the line but delete the scene explaining it? How fucking stupid are the people making this show? And we later get the shot of his hand coming out the pot of gold, like, come on! When we leave the castle, we do get a funny moment where none of the characters can shoot the bow and arrows, so all 3 of them have to work together, which was a good cap-off to the rivalry. Even though the arrows shouldn't add anything to the ship, but whatever. The robots die, we get the goodbyes between Clara and Robin, which was wholesome, and then we get a final scene between the Doctor and Robin, which was actually fucking fantastic. The parallels between the Doctor and Robin are very well shown. The dialogue is brilliant and the music is mwah! I'm glad the episode ended with the 2 on good terms. So, that was Robot and Sherwood, and was it as bad as my repressed memory made it out to be? Yes. This episode is filled with dumb shit, annoying scenes, and absolutely terrible villains. Like seriously, they are so one-dimensional and shit! Not to mention that they deleted a scene fucking explaining something and didn't notice how it made the episode make no sense. This episode is beyond mediocre. It's just the standard gatter shite. A Doctor as good as Capaldi didn't deserve a script as truly mediocre and boring as this. I would skip this without a doubt, which describes pretty much every Gatiss episode now I think about it. But as I said in my Series 8 ranking, the characters can sort of carry this episode. Well, the main 3 anyway, everyone else is just forgettable. But this episode just fucking sucks. There's nothing I would really even want to revisit. If I wanted Capaldi and Clara being great, I'd watch pretty much any other episode. And it's actually fucking pathetic that this is probably the 2nd best Gatiss episode, and it's still shit. Terrible. Never mind, I just remembered that Night Terrors exists. Up next is an absolutely beautiful episode that I cannot wait to review. Even though I already have.
But why? Why would you do that? Why would you do any of that?